are going to study about installation and the foundation details with respect to synchronous motion. So let's proceed with the synchronous motion, specification, installation, and we are going to see the various tests. First, coming to the topic, what are the specifications for a synchronous motion? There are 10 points which you have to remember. The voltage rating should be mentioned when you want to take or procure a synchronous motion. The second point is you have to mention the excitation voltage, whether it is 110 volts or 1000 volts, or what is the DC voltage that you are applying for exciting the field windings. Then you also have to mention the excitation current. You have to mention the power rating. You have to mention whether it is vertical mount or horizontal mount. You have to mention the rated current and the frequency with lot of variations. You have to mention what class of insulation you are using for the winding, whether it is class A insulation, class E insulation, class B insulation, class F or class H insulation. The temperature is also important. Also, whether what type of construction you are using, what are the bearing arrangements, what are the different methods of cooling, what are the methods of starting, what is the performance requirement, and the parameters related to the efficiency. The next topic we are going to study is with respect to installation of a synchronous motion. What are the points which we have to make sure when we are installing the synchronous motion? First and the foremost thing we are going to do is to install the bed plate, and you have to level the bed plate. After leveling it, you have to install the bearing pedestals and you have to level them also. After leveling is done, you have to check the stator of the synchronous motion and the rotor. Then you have to assemble the rotor onto the shaft. After assembling the rotor, next you have to install the stator. After installing the stator, you have to install the rotor in the stator. Then you have to check the air gap between the stator and the rotor. Then you have to prepare for the shaft couplings. After that, you have to mount the shaft couplings onto the shaft, and you have to do the alignment of the shaft, and then you have to install the cooling system. You also have to make sure in the installation procedure itself, what are the different drying methods you are using, what are the different methods of testing like vibration test, all those things you're going to do, controlling mechanisms, commissioning, you always have to know. Before we do anything, we have to do physical inspection. The synchronous generator which we have received at the site must be stored in a safe place. Before storing it, the machine should pass on the acceptance procedure intended to check for missing or any damaged parts. Then it has to always make sure that it has passed the violation of installation terms. Then, in the presence of the representative of the supplier, all the checks need to be done, and always make sure that the synchronous generators are delivered in a disassembled condition itself. What is important in the foundation? Important in the foundation is the strong structure, whether it is horizontal or vertical mounted. For vertical, always alternators, we usually prefer vertical mounting. Foundation should be separate from columns and supporting structures of the building. Why do we do that? To prevent vibrations of the machine to the buildings. The foundation should always be provided with holes such that to receive the anchor bolts safely, tightly onto the concrete bed. The alternator is installed in a strong structure constructed for this purpose only. Let us study what is the excitation system we are using. We are using brushless excitation system. AVR is called automatic voltage regulator, where it is going to control the amount of voltage that it enters the synchronous motion. In this a rotor of the synchronous machine always requires DC current for excitation. So the function of the excitation system is to supply and to control the field current. An excitation system includes all the equipments which are required for the supply and for the regulation. So as I told you, the function of the excitation system are two things. One is to supply the current and to regulate the field current. So let us see what is meant by an automatic voltage regulator. An automatic voltage regulator, this is the circuit of the automatic voltage regulator, which we call it as AVR. In this, there is a reference voltage which is given. This reference voltage with the power supplied to the circuit is fed to the generated voltage and given to an amplifier. The amplifier will get three inputs, one supplied to the circuit, one the reference voltage, and the other one is the generated voltage. The amplifier mixes all this and amplifies to a required level, and it is passed to the firing gear such that any stabilization is required is sent back to the amplifier. The function of the automatic voltage regulator is to make sure that the terminal voltage is automatically regulated every now and then, and to facilitate the reactive power load sharing whenever two or more machines are operated in parallel. The function is to regulate the voltage and the load angle under both abnormal condition and also during transients, such that any faults that are occurred are regulated. And the another function is to maintain the damp swing and electromagnetic oscillation in the load angle during abnormal condition. To ensure this protection of the generator and the excitation, what do? We use appropriate automatic voltage regulators both during abnormal condition and also during transients. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you.